So this seems like the responsible post to do, given all of my recent endorsement of psychedelics. I mean, here's your real danger, as far as I can tell. If you're prone or have a history of, or even a family history of, a psychotic break, psychedelics can definitely be the thing that triggers that. So I mean, that's a real thing, and that's a real danger, and it's something you really want to be careful for. And that typically happens in the wrong place with the wrong people, or at the wrong time in your life. Psychedelics can definitely trigger that. Now, it's really likely that life was going to at some point, and that you were headed in that direction for the psychotic break, and it was going to happen anyway. But psychedelics could be the thing that ultimately throws you into it, and can create some paranoia. And the devil starts whispering in your ear, and you can't seem to find a way out of that dark hole, and you have no resources for that. You have no help, and you have no one kind of helping talk you through something like that. And that's a serious danger, and it can go there, and how you're going to go about getting out of that. And maybe at that point, you can create some physical harm to yourself, and that's the only way physical harm is going to happen on a psychedelic. There's really no known lethal doses for any of the major psychedelics. They don't seem to be harmful in that way at all. And even with LSD, they don't even know, even though it's so easy to consume vast amounts of LSD, even accidentally, it can't kill you as far as anybody knows. So they're not harmful physically, but if, you get to a point where you start hurting yourself, that's really unlikely in a psychedelic state, but I can see how that could happen. Where you just start tearing yourself apart because of a massive, massive overdose. But man, that's a tough place to get to. More often than not, you're just going to end up kind of demolished, and you're going to melt into the floor, and you're going to turn into something else and end up in some other realm, and you'll be fine. But in the case where it triggers that in you, and you're just in the wrong place with the wrong people, that can happen. So that's your main danger, and that's really the only one as far as I can tell. And that's really a matter of getting the dose right and being in the right place with the right people. At the same time, psychedelics could really cure this too at the same time. If it's done right, if it's guided, or if it's in a safe place with safe people who kind of know what's up with you and where you're at, and you feel safe enough, it can really bring all this home for you and cure it at the same time. So that's the real sketchiness of psychedelics. If there is, a real danger, that's it. That's really all I'd say. Now, like with, there's some secondary dangers, but they're not really dangers. I feel I should draw a line. Dangerous to your pride. Yeah, if you're a prideful person, absolutely, it can, in a therapeutic way, and in somewhat of a gentle way, and maybe not so gentle way, it can just smash your pride. And the ego, I guess you can put that in that category, can take a serious hit. If you're like one of these Wall Street guys, or stereotypical Wall Street guys, where it's, it's cocaine and hookers every night, chasing material things and, immediate sources of pleasure, prepare to meet your maker on a major psychedelic. It'll rip you apart. You'll get such a hard look at yourself, that it may be hard to come back from that, and it could throw you into a deep depression, ultimately, hopefully leading to change. So, that can happen. If that's the kind of, person you are, then it's probably for the better. But that's your real big risks there. And it's just not going to be a good time. But if that's kind of what you're after, psychedelics are a very reliable source for giving you a hard look at yourself. And I'm speaking from personal experience. You can get down into some pretty deep shit very quickly, and it can be a lot. It can be sometimes too much, just too hard of a look at yourself, to where you just don't even want to look at it, but you don't seem to have much of a choice. So if you aren't aware of all that going in, it can be somewhat of a shock to you, and kind of leave you in a difficult place that's hard to integrate all that back into your life. So I can see how that could happen. But pretty reliably, you're getting a hard look at yourself. And I've seen this, and I know this personally and from other experiences that I've witnessed, that everyone is getting a very reliably difficult look at themselves. So if you have a habit of really pointing the finger out into the world and judging the world, that finger at some point in the trip just turns right back around on you, and then it's like, oh shit. And you tend to see that, you are the problem. Which is a great thing to realize, because then you can really focus on the problem, knowing what it is, that it's you, and you can kind of work from there, work out from there, but fix yourself up first, which is a good idea. So that's, if you're in a therapeutic setting, you know what you're getting into, you want to work on yourself, you can prepare to, get a hard look at yourself, and it's not such a bad process because you kind of see it coming, and it can come about in a really beautiful way and sometimes difficult way, but it's sometimes gentle, sometimes it's pretty ruthless. Kind of depends on your dose. So getting your dosing right is important, but sometimes that can go too far, and you can see too much. You go beyond yourself, and you encounter more wisdom than you can even handle, and more insights into the structure of things and reality. Maybe you have a moment with God that you just weren't expecting, and then, how do you carry that forward? That can be a lot. And if you've ever ended up in a dark, dark hole on a psychedelic, or if you ever do, Carl Jung is a great way, or is a great resource. He's a depth psychologist. His insights seem to make sense of what would be deemed a bad trip, which a bad trip is just not having the good time that you were expecting. Otherwise, it's not a bad trip at all. It's, it can be good. It just depends on your perspective, and then ultimately what you do with all that information. Because you can look at psychedelics as more of an information retrieval thing, or a wisdom retrieval thing, or even an experience enhancing thing. So if you're going to be laying down in a meditation, you better believe psychedelics are going to enhance that experience. If you're trying to be insightful, it's going to get extremely insightful. Carl Jung also gave a really good warning that I found interesting, which was towards psychedelics. And he said, you need to beware of wisdom that you didn't earn. And that's a pretty powerful statement. And it kind of resonated with me. And I suppose you can interpret that however you want. It's just so much wisdom that you don't even know how to carry it forward. You don't even know what to do with it. It's too heavy. It's more than you can bear, to the point to where you just get crushed by it and you can't move forward, and you end up in a hole after your psychedelic experience that you just never crawl out of. And I think that happens to people. It certainly happens with DMT for certain people sometimes, but ultimately they can recover because they just tend to forget most of it. Like a dream just fades away. How I kind of see this, what I think about this, where you encounter so much wisdom in a way where you did not earn it. And psychedelics, I don't think it's really an earned wisdom, like through life experience. But what I think happens is when you encounter that wisdom at the unconscious level in such a rapid, extreme manner as psychedelics, that you are pretty much driven by those forces unconsciously towards earning it. So it's like you're screwed now. Like you're going to have to now, your life is going to synchronize in a way, and you're going to be going towards things through unconscious forces that are ultimately going to kick your ass and make you earn that wisdom that you encountered so heroically by eating a shitload of psychedelics. So that's that's kind of a rabbit hole there. But see, that's your real dangers, psychosis, and it's maybe, and just know your dose, do your research, have somebody you trust with you, somebody who knows a little something about it, or at least be somewhere you feel absolutely totally safe. And then you're not gonna have any problems. Even if you high dose it, you may get somewhat of an ass whooping from you, but it's not gonna be anything you can't recover from and take home with you. So that's all I have to say about that.